As my title suggests, my research paper is about the consequences of breaking news in the world of sports journalism. This issue is caused by the rise of social media, especially Twitter. Today, sports journalists are motivated by cold, hard cash to be the first to report the inner workings of the sport that they cover. When I first began this paper, I looked at it with more of a legal concern. But as we dove deeper into social media protections as a class, I realized that laws, like Section 230, prevent sports journalists from being prosecuted over a tweet. So, my goal has become to focus more on the ethical concern of this development in sports media and how it has perverted the name of journalism. I would first like to highlight cases of journalist malpractice. Vaguely knowing about some of the situations occurring on Twitter is what sparked my interest in the topic to begin with, and I further researched them so that I can explain the issue to my audience. First is the case of Twitter user Ballsack Sports. As their bio suggests, Mr. Sports is a parody/sarcasm account that pokes fun at the world of sports by creating fictitious quotes and graphics about sports figures. In a thread that I am citing as research, and where I got the visual for this slide from, is an example of a person who has been fooled by Mr. Sports' fake graphic. The importance of this person is that they are a sports writer for Fox News, Gary Sheffield Jr. Sheffield Jr., after being fooled, then wrote an article about the fake quote and was able to get through the corrections of his editors and post it. This is embarrassing for a journalist of any level. But in Sheffield Jr.'s case, he is quoted in a tweet as saying, "Only people that care about errors in journalism are people with nothing better to do." This is frankly the opposite of journalism. It is a disgrace, and real journalists know that they are held to a higher standard. And this is just one case of Mr. Sports' post reaching people that have poor media literacy and fall for a completely fabricated report. So, what happens when a false report comes from a reputable source? This comes into play with NFL insider journalist Adam Schefter. Schefter is hired by ESPN and is integral to their daily operations. ESPN employees have said that there are days where they have nothing planned for shows, but Schefter will break an important piece of information that provides content for that day. For a moment, let's compare Schefter's salary and Twitter followers to superstar quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. Schefter and Burrow make the same ballpark salary of $10 million per year, and Schefter has 10 times the amount of Twitter followers, 1 million compared to 10 million. Now that I've talked about Schefter, let's go to some mistakes that have happened recently in his career. First, I would like to highlight the case of Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins is a former quarterback for the Washington Commanders and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Haskins died in a car accident, and in the tweet that provided the breaking news by Schefter, he mentions how Haskins failed to catch on in his NFL career. Schefter provides an unnecessary commentary that was met with rightful outrage and caused him to apologize. In my more academic research, I came across a study that showed that journalists provide commentary and opinion in their tweets more often than they believe. The researchers believe that since Twitter embodied how human conversation actually occurs, this is why there was a likelihood of commentary. Schefter, in this situation, fell victim to this, became a statistics, and committed a journalism no-no. Although death is a serious matter, there was ultimately no actual harm in the tweet that Schefter sent out. But I would like to highlight a tweet where there could be more harm than meets the eye. In an article by Ben Strauss for the Washington Post, it's detailed how Schefter tweeted about running back for the Minnesota Vikings, Dalvin Cook, and how he alleged his partner was abusing him. The fallout of this tweet is that it is per Cook's agent, who obviously wants him to remain in the best view of the public so that both of them can keep making money. What is not reported is that Cook's partner was also suing him, alleging that he was abusive. In this case, and many other fishy stories, Schefter is the mouthpiece of agents and NFL figures. He reports whatever is in their best interest because he is so dedicated to his sources. Now, how could an organization like ESPN, a journalism pillar in the sports world, allow this to occur? The answer is money. Taking a look at ESPN's code of ethics, this is what they have to say. On ESPN Press Room, what ESPN includes to describe their values, they say, "We are passionately committed to teamwork, quality, creativity, integrity, the aggressive pursuit of new ideas, audience growth, and building shareholder value." Integrity and quality are mentioned, but are immediately contradicted by the statement of wanting to build shareholder value. Money is driving Schefter's current employment by ESPN and is why they are in favor of keeping him plugged in. Schefter is part of what ESPN calls the aggressive pursuit of new ideas, but in a completely perverted way that creates alliances that journalists should never ever have agreed to in the first place. To juxtapose ESPN's Code of Ethics, I took a trip to the SPJ Code of Ethics website to see the real standard that journalists should be held to. Seek truth and report it is the very first thing on the website. Sports reporters like Schefter seek out the greatest way to make money. Remember that speed nor format excuses inaccuracy is the second bullet point on the website. This comes to play in the case of Gary Sheffield Jr., who did not check his sources and simply wrote about something he saw on the internet, and so he could provide the article at the greatest speed. Provide context is another bullet point on the site, which Schefter ultimately did not do in the case of Dalvin Cook and his partner. The average person obviously knows that these journalists messed up, but when comparing their actions to the hallmark of journalist integrity and how journalists are supposed to act, it is obvious that they spat in the face of it. This is just the reality of a site like Twitter in a world with Section 230 that allows journalists to face no repercussions for the reports other than the punishments from their own company, which are not enforced. Thinking about a possible solution to this is difficult. In my original proposal, I advocated for a timer on when a tweet would go out so that users can think about what they are posting before it goes out. I also advocated for a group like the Hutchins Commission, a group of outside intellectuals that could bolster a fact-checking system that Twitter already has in place today. But, in my own honest opinion, I think there needs to be new legislation put into place so that these types of situations can be avoided altogether. This is not real journalism. Twitter amplifies voices and makes them accessible from anywhere in the world, provided that you have a phone. All other forms of journalistic media, whether it's print, broadcast, or radio, etc., are harder to get a hold of, yet they are held to a much higher standard. But this is only the legal view of this issue. Obviously, there are ethical concerns as well, especially for journalistic companies like ESPN and Fox News, whose journalists committed these mistakes. The punishments faced by journalists that make mistakes in the world of sports is little to none. The comfortability of Twitter has spawned the existence of a deadly sin for sports journalists: sloth. There is fundamental laziness to fix the issue of misinformation on breaking news in sports journalism.